Hello students, welcome to UGC lecture series on educational psychology. Today I would be talking on operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a principle connected with learning process. It is interchangeably used with instrumental learning. I'll be talking of some differences later, but let us see the concept what it is. On some occasion I did talk on classical conditioning. And to just refresh your mind, if we just concentrate on classical conditioning, we have seen that there are a number of trials being made which are known as reinforced trials, and in which we found that bells are sounded and within a fraction of a second food is also presented. And we found that learning bonds have taken place because of this presentation. Now, in classical conditioning, food would always be forthcoming. That is, the animal has to do nothing for getting its food or its reinforcement. Now, we'll be changing over to a system in which food would not be forthcoming on each trial. You have to do something to produce your reinforcement or food. So under operant conditioning, the animal has to learn to operate upon certain environmental conditions to get its food. Now, before going to a detailed experiment on it, let me start with a classroom situation. It would become easier for you to what I am talking. In a classroom situation, you say, if your goal is to attain, say, good marks, above 90% marks, what you do is you do better perform. That is, you increase your vocabulary, you increase your task commitment, you increase your preferences in terms of giving more time or time management principles, and therefore you find that yes, if the marks on the higher side are coming to me, it is because of 1, 2, 3, 4 kinds of activities I did. Or in other words, you have been operating on some system to achieve some goal. You have yourself become operational. Or take another very easy example. Why do you go to earn a degree? A degree in a college, a degree in a university, or in a professional college. Degrees do not give you things, you see. Directly, you cannot relate degree to the market. What you do is, once you have a degree, you actually tell to people that I am skilled in certain ways, and this is my testimony, and this is the evidence that I am trained doctor, trained physician, trained teacher. And therefore means that there are certain operations that you know in order to produce certain results. Under experimental, classical conditioning, we were told that yes, if you just respond, you get food, or if you don't respond, you get food. But under operant condition, your responses are not as free. What you need to do is, you have to follow certain mechanisms. You have to do certain operations in order to produce your food. Now take an example. For examples, we have to take our basic understanding to Professor B.F. Sickner. Professor B.F. Sickner is the mastermind behind the operant conditioning. He is the one who taught pigeons, about 36,000 of them, to direct different types of activities in the world. That's how they were trained to do. Under his experimental conditions, he built up number of boxes known as Signarian boxes or Signer's boxes. I will be talking of one such box. Now this box is a well-known Signer box, and in this box you have the kind of box which is bare walled. You can just look into it. But on one of the walls or its sides there is a small opening with a cup behind, just below that opening, and a kind of a bar on one side. So if you could press the bar, a grain of maize or a pellet of food would be dropped down into the cup and you can have it. What he did, he got a very hungry rat, put it inside the Signer's box. Since the rat was hungry, rat started searching. So you can just see the behavior of rat. It is a behavior like going from one corner to another, from one place to another, smelling, looking around for food, but food is not forthcoming. There is no food. Now he goes to the top of the box also, and maybe accidentally he falls on the bar. Soon as he falls on the bar is pressed, a pellet of food is dropped into the cup, and he sees the food and starts eating it. Now this one is not immediately learned by the rat that pressing the bar gives me food. He again puts himself into trial after trial, because that cognitive map among rats is not as sharper as among humans. After 50th trial, the rat learned to press the bar alone and get the food. So he had not to go from one place to another place, from corner to corner, from nook to nook. He would not. He would specify the place where bar is situated, and he would go to the site of the bar and press it, put whole of its weight on the bar, and he gets the food. And as trial is increased, even quality of behavior of the rat increased. And that is very interesting, that he learned that that bar does not need the whole pressure or weight of his body. It could be even pressed with the help of a small paw. So in coming trials he learned to put its paw on the bar, and bar got pressed and food was there. Quality of behavior. Second, that the lot of food that was coming forth was not necessarily for him only at the time of being hungry. What he did was, he was just getting that food out and then putting it in one of the sides or the corners of the box. So he could store it, storing capability, keeping it for today, maybe the whole thing does not come. What is the conclusion? The conclusion is that rat has learned to operate upon environment. Of course, the clues were there. Bar was there, food pellet was there, food delivery system was connected with the box, and cup was there, food came. But trial after trial, he learned to produce its stimulus, and that stimulus is food. Now you will find what a difference between classical conditioning model and operant conditioning model. In operant conditioning, the dog learns to get its food. So far as classical conditioning is concerned, there the dog is not to operate and find its food. It is to salivate only, that's all. That's quite a natural phenomena. But here it has to. And if you look outside your classroom, my dear students, you will find that the entire learning process is operational in nature. That is, you have to operate to produce your results. You start with your own desks where you are working, looking through your books, you see. Why do we read books? Book is an operational mechanism to get knowledge. You see, if knowledge is the goal. To get knowledge, knowledge can be a substitute of food. But how can you get knowledge if you don't go through books? If you don't sit in my class, in the class of your teachers? So Sitting in the class with a teacher, listening to a teacher means you are actually using a strategy, an operation, a mechanism to achieve a goal. This is exactly what happens under operant condition. Now, why operant is operant? Not only that you are operational, you are instrumental. There's one more, feature to it, and that feature is it is free responding system. Free responding system means there is no possibility of eliminating, food delivery system or cutting it off or withdrawing it. The point is that we would be able to check the rate of responding among animals. And the simple kind of thing would be, if I just apply it to the human models, there we see, don't you find in classes there are children who are very fast learners, there are children who are very slow learners, there are children who are just average? And one of the looking at this situation is one of the ways, like looking at this situation is that maybe that these children are differently made. And if we look it from the point of view of operant conditioning, then I would say that there are children who are very active, very smart, very sharp in making responses, and that responses in a unit of time. See, if you have unit of time, say 30 minutes. In 30 minutes time, if you are sitting with me in a classroom situation, how many times are you responding to me, asking questions, seeking clarifications, supporting some other students on some arguments? I would record that here is a guy who is frequently, involving himself in the learning process. This child would be in certain respects better than the child who keeps mum, whose responses are at 0. Maybe that child whose responses are at 0, he would bloom later, but presently he is not making any response. So we are trying to measure the rate of response with reference to a unit of time. So it happens to be a free responding system. One more important concept that Professor B.F. Sickner has emphasized, that is, we are not eliciting responses as we do in classical conditions. Here we are emitting them. Here what we see, most of the responses which are unlearned, for which no learning is needed. Like for instance, you see blinking of an eye against a puff of air. If a puff of air is blown into your eye, you will certainly close down your lids, and that is natural. And that you learn to walk is quite natural. You have not to go to some school to learn how to walk. These are certain unlearned responses, but most of the responses are learned. Like for instance, no one is born with a skill or a capability or information that I must stop on seeing red light. That is traffic rule. Wherever there is a red light on a roadside, you have to stop. But this stopping at red light is not what we call unlearned, it's learned. Many responses in our society, in a classroom, in our home, domestics, etc., are learned responses. So what Sickner did was he concentrated on these responses. This is a response repertoire of an individual. In order to make your response system more compatible with actual life situations, makes it wonderful. You see, if you have to be a very good positive learner. So he used a kind of a system known as reinforcement system, in which he talked about positive reinforcers and negative reinforcers. That the whole learning system can be placed on positive learning system. If you use some negative things like punishment, maybe some kind of learning would take place because of some punishment, because of some threat, because of some anxiety, because of some stress, you may start learning. But that learning response would be negative. There are 100% chances that this situation would go off, that this learning will not remain with you because you did not learn it, you did not enjoy the learning of this kind of situation. That's why learning would not take place if the act of learning is not enjoyable. That is true with all teachers, you see. The act of learning has to be enjoyable, then and only then learning would take place. So Sickner would say that we have to make use of positive reinforcements in a classroom situation. And maybe at certain occasions, you may make use of negative reinforcement like a small mild punishment, but this should not be delayed. You see, once a kind of error is done, the person is to be given a kind of a nod that way that no, this is not a correct response. And you should not feel surprised, you must be knowing, I am just reminding you and refreshing your memory only, that in 1952, Professor B.F. Sickner invented a machine, teaching machine. You see, there was the first teaching machine made by him, in which you could sit as a small child, say just toddler, on this machine, and you could find out your own education. Maybe that time education was only a knowledge of English alphabet system. And each learning situation was controlled that way that if you had to press A, if A was A, then machine would say yes. If you had pressed a wrong key, instead of A you got B, machine would say wrong. So by doing it trial after trial, you would learn within, say, next 2 hours the whole alphabet system A to Z on machine alone. So in the beginning, that machine could hold a promise for all people who in small children in schools. Later on, of course, for comprehensive, abstract thinking, machines would not help. Your creative, imaginative thought would definitely be conditioned by the kind of knowledge and resources you are utilizing later in our environment. But the point that I am making is self-learning concept. The point I am making is the positive learning. The point I am making is that delayed kind of punishment would not help. Or programming a kind of, the whole program learning concept in education is based on Sicknerian principles, in which you are planning your lesson, you are planning your units of understanding, you are planning the whole book on programmed kind of setup, so that you would be helped by teachers, but the help or the assistance of a teacher would be like a facilitator, a counselor, a guide, not as an instructor. So we find that there is a lot of application available with Sicknerian concept of operant learning. And for maybe my students, most of my students would see this lecture as a help in sitting in an exam and answering a question like, what is operant conditioning? Some of the things you would get that way. Yes, what is operant conditioning? But the point that I am making through this and would like to utilize this time for you is to bring you the real concept, how it can be related with the whole process of getting learned. And the thing that I am talking about with stressing is that you have to have a purposeful activity. If you would like to have any subject with you, what is the way? Are you going to the subject half-hearted way? Or you are taking it as, kind of goal which is to be immediately achieved by you? And if it is so, then what are the ways? What are the strategies? What are the mechanisms which are to be applied? And most important mechanism is a positively arranged strategy. And the reinforcement that is forthcoming must be ensuring, empowering a mission. And you can even plan those reinforcements. You can have a continuous reinforcement schedule, or you can have an intermittent reinforcement schedule, that is delayed reinforcement schedule. In all cases of reinforcements, people learn to behave with respect to certain instructional material in the way the experimenter wants. The most positive thing about this operant conditioning is that it is environment and the response within that environment which is most important. If you can better your environment, your education can be bettered. Your classroom situation is better, then you can ensure learning. All those components of learning process are to be taken in a direction in which all are charged toward helping the student to achieve a goal. You see, you can't work on deficient things. You see, you can't work or make compromises with deficiencies in learning. A perfect unit is to be understood by perfection of strategies. That's what is important. And therefore, once we go back to Professor B.F. Sickner, we'll find that he had lots of dreams. So his wonderful novel is Walden II, Walden II. And that Walden II was the kind of society he wanted to make. And that society in which people would be engineering themselves toward the process of construction, reconstruction, building up, and making humans human. And while you go through the novel, you'll find that, yes, this could be a possibility. If you could program your people, if you could program your children, if you program your instructions, you will have the results, very handsome results. That's why, you see, sometimes when we try to relate them with the basic Watsonian principles, in which Watson himself had claimed it whole depends upon the environment. If you make the environment a very living, experience for children, they would definitely grow. No matter whether they have intelligence, no matter whether they have inheritance, no matter whether they have penchant, no matter whether they have interest or not. The whole thing depends upon how you are programming the instructions, and particularly the situation of learning. Now, before ending this presentation, may I give you a few important points. Today I did talk on Sicknerian approach to learning, that was generally called as operant conditioning or operant learning. Operant learning is kind of a strategy in which a person, organism, animal becomes operative, and he becomes instrumental in manipulating, in using and utilizing environmental clues in such a manner that his goals are satisfied, achieved, or taken due care. Second, we have learned also that the concept of reinforcement is connected with positive learning. We would see that positive reinforcers help speedily learning process as compared with negative reinforcers. We have also learned that this operant conditioning is a pre-response system in which rate of responses are taken into consideration. And reason for that is to find out and measure the individual differences, and to find out the ways in which even slow learners in the class, just average learners in the class, can be taken or charged to go to the ranks in which they will achieve according to their parental satisfaction, teacher satisfaction, or social satisfaction. Thank you very much.